Darkness falls suddenly, and then, in a flash, silence gives way to a trumpet blast. One verse in the Bible holds this entire moment, hidden in plain sight, ignored by most. Have you ever wondered why Jesus warned of signs but still said, "No one knows the day or the hour"? What if the key to the whole rapture timeline has been sitting in your Bible this entire time? And most importantly, what does it mean for you when that moment comes? This is not speculation, and it's not just another theory. It's a revelation that connects prophecy, history, and the very words of Jesus into one clear, complete picture. You'll see the rapture timeline in a way you've never seen it before. But beware, the greatest risk is to hear and still remain unprepared. So, stay with me until the end, because once you see this single verse, you'll never read prophecy the same way again. And if you love uncovering the hidden truths of Scripture, make sure to subscribe and tap the bell so you don't miss what's coming next. Thank you so much for being here. There's a verse in the Gospels that shakes the ground beneath our feet. Jesus painted a vivid picture of the end. Wars and rumors of wars, nations rising against nations, false prophets deceiving many. Yet, in the very same breath, he declared something puzzling. But of that day and hour no one knows, not even the angels of heaven, but my Father only. Matthew 24:36. Here lies the tension that has echoed through centuries. How can there be clear prophetic signs, and yet a hidden moment no man can grasp? The rapture stands as an appointed event on God's calendar, but its exact timing is locked away in the Father's hands. This paradox isn't meant to frustrate us, it's meant to awaken us. The Scriptures speak of fig trees budding, storms brewing, nations trembling, yet the exact day remains untold. Why? Because God never wanted curiosity without commitment. He never intended prophecy to be a riddle for speculation, but a call to vigilance. Like a father who tells his children, "When the first clouds gather, be ready," Jesus handed us markers that stir the heart, not dates that satisfy the intellect. And yet, how many today live as if divine time doesn't even exist? Picture a night watchman guarding a house. He doesn't know what hour the thief will come, but he stays alert, lantern in hand. If he drifts into sleep, he loses everything. That's the image Jesus gave when he spoke of his return. And how striking it is for us in modern times. We depend on phone reminders, calendars, alarms to stay organized. But none of these will alert us when heaven's trumpet sounds. God's time is not measured in minutes or seconds. It's measured in hearts prepared to meet him. Here's the surprising detail. God's silence is not emptiness. It's intentional. When Jesus declared that only the Father knows the hour, he wasn't leaving us blind. He was inviting us to live with eyes wide open. Think of walking through a dark valley at night, not guided by the glare of a faraway spotlight, but by a lamp that shows only the next step. That's how divine time works. It forces us to trust, to move forward in faith, to depend on the light of His Word rather than on the illusions of human prediction. The tension grows even sharper when we consider our world today. We see wars shaking nations, love growing cold, deception spreading like wildfire. These are the very signs Jesus mentioned. Yet His solemn warning echoes. No one knows the day or the hour. Tough. And so, humanity splits in two. Some scoff, living as if nothing will ever change, while others watch with trembling anticipation, knowing the trumpet blast could shatter the silence at any moment. Both groups were foreseen in prophecy, and both exist right now, side by side. But hidden inside this paradox is a deeper truth. When Jesus said the hour was concealed, He wasn't crushing hope. He was preserving it. Think of a bride waiting for her groom. The exact day of the wedding remains unrevealed, but the promise is certain. That hidden detail keeps her watchful, keeps the flame alive. So it is with Christ and His church. The waiting is the test of love, the silence, the proof of loyalty. And this opens the great question. If no man knows the day, how can a single verse in Scripture hold the entire timeline of the rapture within its words? The words of Jesus in Matthew 24:36 are not just a warning. They are a master key. But of that day and hour no one knows, not even the angels of heaven, but my Father only. On the surface, it looks like a denial. No one can know, so stop searching. But hidden beneath those lines is the very structure of God's prophetic timeline. The verse is not silence, it is a code. Within it, Jesus draws a line between heaven's secret and earth's signs, between what is concealed and what is revealed. And only those who meditate on the Scriptures with open hearts begin to see the map inside the mystery. Think about it. Jesus could have stayed vague, simply saying, "The end will come." Instead, He used specific language, day and hour. Why mention both? Why emphasize the Father's knowledge alone? These are not throwaway words. They are markers pointing us back to the Jewish understanding of times and season. The day connects to the festivals, God's appointed times in Leviticus. The hour resonates with the watch system of Israel, the nightly divisions when guards stayed awake waiting for dawn. In a single sentence, Jesus links eternity, prophecy, and human history. But most people read it quickly and move on. Imagine holding a locked chest. The key looks simple, almost ordinary, just a piece of metal. Yet, when you place it in the lock, it turns gears hidden inside, and suddenly the chest springs open, revealing treasures. That's what this verse is like. To the casual reader, it's simple. Nobody knows. To the one who lingers, it becomes a map. The fig tree parable, the days of Noah, the sudden separation of two in the field, one taken and the other left. Every detail that follows in Matthew 24 hangs on the hinge of this verse. But here's the twist. Jesus never said we would understand nothing. He said the day and hour are hidden. The season, however, is revealed. And this is why so few understand. They confuse what God concealed with what He allowed us to see. The prophets Daniel and Paul spoke in the same pattern. Daniel was told, "Seal up the words until the time of the end." Daniel 12:4. Paul wrote, "You are not in darkness, brothers, so that this day should overtake you like a thief." 1 Thessalonians 5:4. Different voices, same truth. The rapture will come suddenly, yet the faithful will not be caught unaware. Think of it in practical life. You may not know the exact hour your child will be born, but you recognize the signs, contractions, labor pains, the nearness of delivery. No doctor can give you the precise second, but you know the season has arrived. That's the image Jesus uses here. The unknown day and hour doesn't mean ignorance. It means urgency. It means we live with expectancy, hearts awake, eyes fixed on the signs unfolding in our world. Wars, deception, moral collapse. They are not noise. They are contractions. And the verse becomes a calendar in motion. And this brings us to the heart of the matter. If this one verse is the key, then each word is a code waiting to be broken. Day and hour. No one knows. My Father only. What does it mean that even the angels do not know? Why would Jesus, the Son, place Himself within that mystery? And why tie this statement directly to the days of Noah in the very next breath? These questions unlock the layers of the timeline. And it is here, in the hidden code of Jesus' words, that the full revelation begins to unfold. When Jesus said, "Of that day and hour no one knows," He wasn't just making a general statement. Every word carries weight. Day, in Hebrew thought, connects to appointed times, the feasts of the Lord. These weren't random holidays. They were prophetic rehearsals of God's plan for humanity. Passover pointed to the sacrifice of the Lamb. Pentecost pointed to the coming of the Spirit. And the Feast of Trumpets points forward to a sudden, dramatic event when the trumpet will sound and the faithful will be gathered. The single phrase, "that day," opens the curtain to an entire calendar of prophecy embedded in the Scriptures. Then comes the word, hour. In Jewish culture, the night was divided into watches, the first, second, third, and fourth watch of the night. Jesus often told his disciples to stay awake, for they did not know in which watch the Master would return. The hour points not only to uncertainty, but to vigilance. Soldiers stood guard in the night, listening for every sound, ready to raise the alarm at the faintest disturbance. The rapture, in this sense, is not about marking clocks. It's about staying alert through the watches of spiritual darkness, knowing that at any moment the sound of the trumpet could split the silence. And then, the phrase, "no one knows." This is not despair, it's design. It excludes every human calculation, every arrogant prediction. Throughout history, false prophets have set dates, and every time those dates failed, faith was shaken. Jesus cut through the noise by saying, "No man can claim authority over the Father's appointed time. Only God holds the seal." Yet, in the same discourse, he gave signs, as if whispering, "You won't know the minute, but you will know the season." The mystery is both a boundary and an invitation, a paradox designed to keep us humble, watchful, and yearning. Even the angels, mighty beings who stand in the presence of God, were said to be in the dark about this moment. That's staggering. Angels who watched the fall of Lucifer, who delivered messages to prophets, who will one day gather the elect. Even they do not know the hour of the rapture. Why? To show us that this knowledge is not a privilege of power, but of relationship. It belongs to the Father alone. And in this hiddenness lies a lesson. If heavenly hosts live in expectation, how much more should we, frail and finite, live with trembling anticipation? And then comes the final phrase, "but my Father only." These words point to intimacy, to the mystery of divine authority. In Jewish wedding tradition, it was the father of the groom who decided when the son could go and fetch his bride. The groom prepared the house, the bride kept her lamp burning, but the father alone gave the signal, "Go now." This sheds breathtaking light on Jesus' words. The rapture is not just an event, it's a wedding. The hidden day is not about fear, but about love. It's the Father guarding the moment when the Son will rise and gather his beloved. Do you see it? In one short verse, Jesus layered meaning upon meaning. The day links us to God's calendar. The hour calls us to vigilance. "No one knows" keeps us humble. Not even the angels reminds us of its sacred secrecy. "My Father only" points us to the wedding of eternity. This is not just a warning verse, it is a code. And when you place these words alongside the prophecies of Daniel, Paul's letters to the Thessalonians, and the visions of Revelation, the timeline begins to shine like a map. But we have not yet placed the pieces in order. And that's where the real picture emerges. When we step back and gather all the pieces, the day, the hour, the silence of the angels, the Father's authority, what emerges is not confusion, but a timeline as precise as prophecy allows. Jesus immediately compared his coming to the days of Noah. That wasn't a casual reference. In Noah's generation, the world was eating, drinking, marrying, and living as if nothing could interrupt. Yet, right in the middle of ordinary life, the flood struck. That is the rhythm of the rapture. Sudden interruption in the middle of daily routines. The timeline is not measured in clocks, but in contrasts. Life as usual, then the heavens break open. The first marker is deception. Before the trumpet, Jesus warned, false messiahs and false prophets would rise, performing great signs. This is happening in our time like never before. Voices claiming to speak truth, but twisting the scriptures. The second marker is global shaking. Wars, earthquakes, nations collapsing. These are not random disasters. Jesus called them the beginning of birth pains. Just as contractions grow stronger and closer before birth, so will the signs multiply before the rapture. And anyone watching today can feel the frequency quickening. The third marker is moral collapse. Jesus said, "Because lawlessness will abound, the love of many will grow cold." Matthew 24:12. Look around. Families broken, truth mocked, faith ridiculed. The timeline is not about predicting a date on the calendar. It's about seeing the decay of a world that mirrors the days of Noah and Lot. Both were societies drowning in corruption when judgment came suddenly. That's the prophetic mirror Jesus held up, and it shines uncomfortably close to our generation. Then comes the separation. Jesus described two men in the field, one taken, the other left. Two women grinding at the mill, one taken, the other left. This is not poetic exaggeration. It is the moment of division that marks the rapture itself. The faithful will be caught up. As Paul wrote, "We will be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air." 1 Thessalonians 4:17. Those unprepared remain. In a single instant, eternity will divide humanity, not by wealth, power, or knowledge, but by readiness. And woven into this sequence is the command to watch. Jesus didn't give the signs just to inform. He gave them to transform. The timeline isn't for speculation, it's for preparation. It's a call to live with lamps burning, hearts ready, lives anchored in faith. This is why Paul echoed it with urgency. "For you yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord so comes as a thief in the night." 1 Thessalonians 5:2. But then he added, "You are not in darkness. You are all sons of light." The faithful will not be surprised because they are awake. When you put it all together, the timeline unfolds like this. Deception rises, creation shakes, love grows cold, the faithful endure, then suddenly, like lightning, the rapture divides the prepared from the unprepared. It is a complete timeline not in numbers, but in patterns. And this is the brilliance of that single verse in Matthew 24. It carries the entire prophetic rhythm in one breath. But if the verse reveals the structure, what does it demand from each of us personally? That is the final and most urgent layer. If the rapture timeline is real, and it is, then it's not just a prophecy to observe. It's a call to respond. When Jesus spoke of two in the field, one taken and the other left, he wasn't describing strangers in some distant age. He was describing neighbors, families, co-workers, even friends sitting side by side. The dividing line runs through everyday life. The timeline isn't abstract. It touches the dinner table, the workplace, the heart of every household. That's why the verse presses so heavily. It asks not, "When will it happen?" but, "Which side will you be on?" The call is intensely personal. Jesus didn't say entire groups would be swept away together. He described individuals, one prepared, one unprepared, one vigilant, one careless. That's the urgency of prophecy. It brings eternity into personal focus. Think of a fire alarm ringing in a building. Some will hear it and rush to safety. Others will ignore it and stay behind, thinking it's nothing serious. The rapture will come like that. Sudden, dividing, inescapable. And the choice to be ready is made long before the alarm ever sounds. Preparation doesn't look like endless speculation or stockpiling predictions. It looks like daily faith. It looks like forgiveness, prayer, and walking in the light of the Scriptures. It looks like holding on to hope when the world mocks, keeping love alive when lawlessness chills the air. These small, unseen acts are what separate those whose lamps burn brightly from those whose oil runs dry. In practical terms, it may be as simple as opening the Bible each morning, whispering a prayer before decisions, or reconciling with someone before bitterness takes root. Read the Gospels, Read Paul's letters. Let the words train your heart to stay awake. This is why Jesus framed the unknown day not as a frustration, but as a test of love. If you knew the exact hour, you'd wait until the last minute. But love doesn't wait for deadlines. A bride doesn't prepare only when she hears her groom is near. She prepares because she longs for him daily. That's the posture of the church. The Father holds the moment, so the bride will keep her lamp trimmed, her heart steady, her eyes lifted. The rapture timeline is not just prophecy. It's romance, loyalty, and longing woven together in holy suspense. And maybe you've felt that tension. Maybe you've looked at the chaos of the world and wondered, what can I even do? The answer is simple, but not shallow. Stay awake. Read the scriptures. Guard your heart. Live as if the trumpet could sound tonight. Because that's the entire point. It could. That doesn't mean living in fear. It means living in readiness. It means living with a joy that can't be shaken, knowing that every sunrise could be the last before the eternal dawn. So the verse doesn't only sketch a timeline, it speaks directly to you. It whispers the ultimate question: when that day comes, in an hour you don't expect, will you be taken or left? Will you stand ready with your lamp burning? Or will you be caught unaware in the middle of life as usual? This is the personal call hidden inside the prophecy. And it leads us straight into the closing mystery. Why this single verse, out of all the scriptures, holds the power to stop everything and demand a decision from every heart. So now you've seen it. One single verse, hidden in plain sight, carrying the entire rapture timeline. It's no longer just about prophecy on a page. It's about you. When that day comes, in an hour no one expects, where will you stand? Will you be the one taken or the one left behind? This isn't theory. This is life and eternity colliding in a single moment. And the question presses closer than ever. If the trumpet sounded tonight, would you be ready to meet Jesus face to face? Take this truth and let it shape the way you live, the way you love, the way you prepare. Open the scriptures with fresh eyes, pray with expectancy, and live as if heaven's timeline is already ticking down, because it is. I want to hear from you. What part of this message struck you most? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. If you felt the weight of this revelation, make sure to subscribe, hit like, and tap the bell so you won't miss what's coming next. Stay awake, stay ready, and never forget, eternity is closer than it seems. And may the Lord bless you and keep you always.